Homelander is one of the best villains in modern cinema. He has a huge fan base online, not just because of the memes.
It was perfect. Perfect.
But because he's one of the most psychologically complex characters in all of media, even though the basis for the character is a no-brainer. What would happen if Superman was evil? And Homelander is evil, right? Well, much like Homelander, things are much more complicated than what's on the surface. Welcome back to Shade Cinema. My name is Chris, and today we will dive into Homelander. We will look at his history, his personality, and determine if he is evil or something more, and we will find his spot on the villain's Venn diagram. For those who don't know, I made a video discussing what is evil a little while ago, and in that video, I came up with a Venn diagram designed to categorize villains from pop culture. Here's a quick rundown. The diagram consists of 3 circles: evil, broken, and influenced, plus the sections in between them. They each have 4 main characteristics. To be put into one of the circles, a person must have at least 2 of the traits within that circle. So for example, for a character to be a guided missile, he has to have at least 2 characteristics in both the broken and influenced circles. But having only one in the evil circle wouldn't mean that they're evil, at least not to a high enough degree. If you'd like a more in-depth breakdown of the Venn diagram and what everything on it means, click the eye in the top right corner to check that out. Anyway, let's continue with Homelander by first looking at his story. To understand Homelander's character, we must first examine his upbringing and how he developed into the Homelander we all know and love. He was raised in a lab to become Vought's next big superhero after their previous big-time superhero, Soldier Boy, was thrown to the wayside. The lab was used as a neutral ground with the idea that Homelander wouldn't pick up any bad habits or traits from his parents, family, or friends. Vought sought to make Homelander a perfect being, and in turn, he would be the ideal product, an all-American superhero. Homelander's story recalls him playing baseball at a young age with his father and having a great life with his loving family, all things he never got to experience himself. Although he was raised in a lab to be protected and crafted into the perfect superhero free from outside influences, he wasn't shown any affection from anyone growing up. The boy had godlike powers and was not given any accompanying good values alongside his ability. A lack of a proper family and guidance from people he looked up to, alongside the values never bestowed upon him, caused Homelander to be a shell of a human being, lacking any morality or self-confidence. A person's values determine what they believe in and, more importantly, the quality of a person they are or will be in the future. Homelander wasn't taught to be considerate of others. Sure, he was saving people, but he didn't do it because he genuinely cared about the average man. He did it
For The Rock.
No, not The Rock. He did it for Vought. Vought wanted Homelander to be the ratings juggernaut and therefore made sure to teach him that the most essential thing in the world is to get a lot of points and keep them up, which cemented in his mind that all he should care about is how well he did ratings-wise with the general public. He did whatever it took to make sure he bumped up his points. It's beyond just points and ratings though. Due to the lack of positive role models or family members who loved him unconditionally, Homelander grew up to be incredibly insecure. In contrast to how Vought saw them, to Homelander, the points don't mean more money or more success. To him, the points symbolize the love and acceptance of the people. Love is something that Homelander craves more than anything, which is a factor that Madeline Stillwell uses to her full advantage. Stillwell becomes like a surrogate mother to Homelander and his puppeteer, a weapon she uses to get what she wants. Stillwell fuels Homelander's insecurities by having him rely on her for emotional security, which allows her to control and manipulate him. This motherly love, so to speak, isn't your typical mother and son relationship. This arrangement got weirdly sexual, like some Oedipus complex. It makes sense. Homelander craves love more than just the unconditional kind, and the sexual nature of their relationship allows Stillwell to sink her claws deeper into Homelander. And most importantly, they're both blondes.
The things I do for love.
Despite her machinations, Stillwell eventually falls out of Homelander's grace, and he ends up killing her. I'd love to get into more detail about their relationship, but it would deviate too much from the topic, so comment down below if you want to see a video on Homelander and his mommy issues. Anyway, let's continue. After Homelander kills Stillwell, he continues to commit horrible acts to feel better about himself. Again, this guy is so insecure he throws his weight around to feel stronger, smarter, and
Better! I am better!
he does this to fill a void in his heart, a void that is almost impossible to fill, and I do mean almost. Homelander at this point already believes that supes are better than normal humans, and he doesn't vocalize the thought much until Stormfront enters the scene. Aside from the National Socialist talk, which he brushes off, Homelander is captivated by Stormfront's message of soup supremacy, mainly because it completely validates the way he wants to feel about himself. He wants to be seen as greater than anyone else, and sees regular humans as weak, pathetic, and helpless. Because of his sheer power, Homelander was very entitled and isolated. Nobody can realistically stand up to Homelander in a one-on-one fight, so it feels like everyone else is fragile. He has a ton of pressure to be the perfect being, which contributes to his entitled nature, and his immense power causes people to keep their distance from him out of fear, just like when he was a child in the lab. Homelander, being the strongest man on Earth, makes him above the law and is beholden to no one, which is something that he takes advantage of many times. Now we'll look at the villain's Venn diagram and see where Homelander fits. Some of these placements will be obvious, while others will be trickier to argue for. Let's start with an easy one. Homelander tends to be a cruel individual. He's done some straight up horrible shit. Let's go through a few of them. Besides murdering many people, Homelander has let a whole plane full of people die because saving them would have been too much work, crippled a blind Soup by taking away his super hearing simply because he hates disabled people, believes that Soup lives are worth more than human lives, and leads the Soup supremacy movement, which manipulates the minds of many Soups to begin killing normal humans, and the minds of humans to perceive the Soups as gods, and he fantasizes about murder a lot, most notably when he was being heckled by a crowd of people calling his bullshit. It's pretty easy to say that Homelander fits perfectly within this category, but what about the other two? Homelander's childhood shaped him into being the complete cunt we all know and love, but other factors don't help his mentality. The lack of parental figures causes him to have crippling loneliness and massive insecurities about himself, which is something that we covered in a segment earlier. There's also a lesser known story of Homelander accidentally killing his tutor because he hugged her too hard after she tells him that she is his mother. Poor mental health on the boy's end caused her death, but he was left traumatized by the event. Later in life, he falls in love with Stormfront, and after she's basically out of commission, she deletes herself, and Homelander becomes unhinged in his hatred for normal humans. It's not hard to tell that he belongs in this category, but the next circle is the one that's unclear. In Season 1, Homelander was manipulated by Stillwell to do her bidding, and, to a degree, compensated for good behavior with attention and affection. Still, after her death, he didn't get either of those two. In Season 2, he is pressured by Stan Edgar to behave or else he will lose his fame, and he's introduced to Stormfront, who seduces Homelander and convinces him to be the leader in the Soup supremacy movement. However, she still had some influence after she died, so that factor remained. In Season 3, Stan Edgar was forced to resign as Vought CEO, and Homelander took complete charge, now no longer under the thumb of anyone, which means he's only a victim of Stormfront's manipulation at this point, and is not really influenced to do bad things in any other way. Therefore, based on the current requirements of the diagram, Homelander is not an influenced person by the end of Season 3. He is at some points throughout the show, but only sometimes and not at the end. Therefore, Homelander is, at this point in the story, a cluster bomb, someone who commits evil deeds due to their past struggles and pains. Just how important the formative years are for a person cannot be understated. If someone doesn't get raised in the right way, preferably with two loving parents, they can often come out of those formative years as a broken person. A child without love grows up to be empty and soulless. Homelander is one of these people. He was not brought up in the right way. He should have been with a family that loved him, but he was bred and kept in a lab instead. He has no identity beyond what he is shown to the world as, the Homelander, and without that, he is nothing. This emptiness drives him to do the horrible things he does, since he had no values that taught him the differences between right and wrong. He wasn't taught those things by people who loved him unconditionally. Evil is not so simple. It can be effortless to categorize someone as pure evil, but that mentality can be destructive if you're trying to understand why someone is doing those evil deeds. Sometimes they are just evil, doing wicked things because they like doing it. But sometimes, evil is committed because of someone's twisted past, and because of a twisted mindset. Anyone, and I mean anyone, who would have gone through the same things as Homelander did when he was a kid, would have ended up in the same way as Homelander did. His evil was driven by his massive levels of emptiness and loneliness. He wanted to love and to be loved, but didn't know a healthy way to give and receive it. To have someone not end up like Homelander, they need to be raised appropriately and have healthy connections with family and friends, both of which are a key to making a good person. Everyone goes through bad things in life, and everyone has a different response to those tough times. Someone with a proper development can go through those hard times and become stronger, while the opposite can have someone go through hard times and end up like Homelander. The lesson here is that understanding why someone is committing an act of evil is the first step of preventing that evil from happening again. Homelander isn't just evil because he's mean, but because of many underlying factors we've showcased previously. It's the same thing about other people in history who have committed evil in most cases. The key is to understand one another, and 90% of problems get resolved. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please leave a like and subscribe for more videos. If you'd like to see another character in one of these types of videos, please leave a comment down below. Also, comment on any thoughts that you have. I reply to every comment that I can. Also, thank you guys so much for 1,000 subscribers. It's been one hell of a ride. I've been doing this for about a year and a half, and I can't wait to reach my next goal, which is 10,000 by the end of this year, and can't wait to see you guys there. Also, if you'd like to see a more in-depth breakdown of the villain's Venn diagram, alongside 7 more characters broken down, click the link on the right side of the screen.